everybody. I am absolutely delighted today to be joined by Richard Murray of Veco. How are you, sir? You okay?
Very good, Simon. How you doing?
Really good, really good. It's all conference season, isn't it? So it's a bit exciting. Obviously, I know that's my speciality. But you're not letting those events take all of the attention, are you? You've got some really big news today that I'm quite excited to be covering with yourself. Do you want to just give us an overview of what you're unveiling?
Yeah, absolutely. It's we're unveiling a new product today. It's called Veco Plus. We are into our fifth iteration now of property software, of CRM software, and yeah, we couldn't be more excited. We can't wait to get it out there. Again, you've been there and done it. You know what it's like. These things, it's a long running, and it's a big investment, and you just want to get to that D-Day. You want to get to that point where you can shout about it and you can tell everyone what you've been doing for the last couple of years.
Well, and we should announce this as two news flashes, because you were kind enough to share this with me, and it must be about one of the first times I've managed to keep my mouth shut for the last 2 years as you were doing it. And I know, in fact, everybody, in terms of CRM, let's be honest, is the most complicated prop tech there is. Somebody will come back and challenge me, but I believe that's obviously the case there. Secondly, the biggest then project that any prop tech company and a CRM company can be is replacing an iterative older product, isn't it, and bringing that too, while still, of course, looking after your existing client base, isn't it? Because it's not like you can just do what some of these ivory tower techies do and just sit away, sort of dabbling in the background. You've got to make sure that all of those past clients, current clients, are being looked after whilst you're essentially reinventing the wheel again, aren't you?
No, absolutely, and that is crucial. We know recurring revenue is the lifeblood of a company like ours. Our clients, are made to feel that they're important, as they should be. Our service levels are right up there, have been for a long time, continue to be so. And we're not end of lifing our existing products. We're just moving on and making sure that when those clients are ready to move, and that might be next week, it might be next month, it might be next year, that we've got a great option for them to migrate over to.
So give us a context as to, we'll come back to many of the different benefits of this, and you really want to stay tuned to hear those ones there. But just give us an idea of why it was needed. I mean, I think the most obvious one was obviously the cloud side of things. Yeah, is that correct? Or can you just cover that off for us, and then obviously highlight as well what other opportunities there were you saw from this Veco Plus release?
Yeah, absolutely. And look, you've hit the nail on the head. It's just technology moves on. We all know that. And the last time we went round this loop was nearly 14 years ago, where going into sort of a web-based, a cloud-based software it wasn't going to deliver what our clients needed at that point in time. Obviously, fast forward a decade or so, and everyone wants to be on one platform. Everyone wants to have access to their data 24/7, any device, responsive. Make sure that, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, whether you're out negging or you're out at property inspection, pitching for business for a vendor or landlord, you need everything literally to hand and on any device.
Now, Chris Watkins obviously likes to have structure to his interviews. I'm low-key a prop tech god of chaos, so I don't do that. So we're going to bounce around a little bit. That point about the mobility is critical, isn't it? Literally, that ability to be reconciling the accounts you look after anywhere in the world is a very real thing, isn't it, in terms of these days? And I think it's fair to say we have seen so many people that have been really, really excited at the potential of Eurolink as it was before, Veco as it was obviously latterly. But that was the stopping point for them, wasn't it? The breaking point. It's like, well, we really want to have that future. That futurability, if that is even a word, to be able to just make sure that accessibility is covered. And that's what you're doing, isn't it? And more than that, I think there's a lot of packages out there, if we're honest, they've got the tick in the box in terms of cloud, but they haven't got the tick in the box in terms of mobility, have they? Because what people often do is just shrink down what is seen as a desktop onto a device like that, which of course doesn't work well. And you've really taken your time and thought about actually how do you optimize it for those mobile devices, haven't you?
Absolutely. Veco Plus, obviously usability was the main focus. It had to be usable in a responsive form, as I said, whatever size screen, whatever device you're on. And that was something we spent a lot of time on, invested heavily into that user interface, that UI, absolutely crucial. And I guess the transition from Veco to Veco Plus, and there's nothing particularly wrong with the approach, but having the sort of desktop version, the app, the portals, the access, points here, there, and everywhere, it's actually really difficult to maintain. And not very efficient either to maintain, either on client side or from our side as a supplier. So it was a case, obviously, using bang up to date technology, making sure that that all of our users have 24/7 access to everything they need to perform their role.
It sounds really, really exciting. And I think another key thing needs to be made, isn't it, is that actually there's a lot to be said for, what did you say it was, the 5th product cycle iterative sort of update from you guys? That residual, lots of people talk about we have hundreds of years of experience in whatever field they're in. Often with tech companies, they do throw that baby out with the bathwater, and it's fine sometimes, I think, in that you do sometimes genuinely need a complete reimagining of it. But actually, the other approach, that iterative approach, where you year on year, you've worked with some of the very best, continue to work with some of the very best agents out there, you don't want to lose all that, do you?
No, absolutely not. I mean, we're over 30 years in now in terms of experience and learning and business logic that we refer to it as business logic. Client accounting, so difficult to get right. We all know that. We've spent so many years trying to perfect it, and we continue to do that. And when I think about an iterative approach, yes, we're starting from scratch from a tech perspective. I suppose the advantage we have is we know what we're building, we know what we're trying to achieve, and the iterative move is to say, well, what have we done? You mentioned the product cycle there, the Eurolink. What do we do well in Eurolink that we could do even better in Veco? We've just taken the same approach from Veco to Veco Plus. There's certain areas of Veco that we know we could have done better. The front end, for example, the neg experience, that sort of fast-paced, accessible, data, accessing data really quickly, being able to perform tasks and actions really, really quickly. We're still big into automation. Nothing's changed there. We continue that, but again, next iteration of Automate is Automate Plus. Yeah. Automate Plus brings with it a lot more control, a lot more admin, multiple outputs to individual tasks. So again, less to look after, and less can go wrong. Yeah.
So that it makes a really good point there. So that sometimes you can get locked into a product, can't you? And because existing users are using something, you can't just go and wholesale change it, can you? So this does give you that opportunity to, as you said, sometimes there's things that might have not been done in the best possible way in the first iterations of a product, but also as well, people's needs change, don't they? The technology changes out there as well. So you can't second guess everything, can you? So I think that for me feels like why people should be excited, because look, I think one of the things about you guys, Richard, is that it's not loads of people know the name Eurolink and Veco and everything else, but I think it's fair to say they still don't know the sheer size and scale of what you're doing out there in the industry. And I hope I'm not being too forwards on that side of things. I mean, I asked you, didn't I, just before, to come back with the stats around, set a bit of context around it. And these are mind-blowing. So over 2,000 branches using your software packages. 12,405 monthly users going on it. And this one is the one that absolutely just blew my mind. Over 1.4 million properties in those combined databases. I mean, you're dealing with a massive slug of the market there. And as well, I think this is critical because you do come from that lettings and accounts expertise side of it. You're in a bit of a niche there where there are a lot of CRM providers out there, but most of them, let's be honest, trying to specialize on sales. They don't and haven't historically come from that very, very difficult bit to crack, lettings and accounts and property management, like your good selves.
Absolutely, and that's why that's why we have so many properties on the system, because obviously you've got to look after accounts data for a certain amount of time. So we're holding a lot of data on well over 1.4 million properties in the UK private rental sector, and sales and resi sector in general. So yeah, it's something I've always said to you a lot. We've been quite quiet down the years, and we've not been very good at boasting about what we do or how we do it.
I can see where you're going with this. I can see where you're going with this.
Well,
you need to show off to.
I think we should do a bit more of that. Yeah, we you know, if you know anyone who can help us with that, then let me know. Let me know. But no, we're very proud. We're very proud of the stats. Also, the support stats as well. You know, we're going to start publishing those as well, which people will start to see on the website. And you know, we're hearing that the service levels are dropping in our sector, and I understand some of the reasons why. You know, there's a lot of investment gone in, and people need to make that money back, whether it's, you know, P's or whoever it is who owns these companies these days. So we all understand that, but from our perspective, you know, we're still privately owned. We plan on being privately owned for the long term. We're accessible. We're dedicated. So we're going to start shouting about that a lot more in the future.
I think you've got to wonder. There's a few things that just jump out that on the face of it you might just ignore. You know, first of all, those 1.4 million properties, that's just not static information there. There's landlord data that hits behind it. I know you and I are both massive fans of the likes of your Josh Fegans, your Stephen Browns. You know, these guys that go out there and tell agents till they're blue in the face. You have got enough data locked away within your, enough gold in terms of if you prospect against that, you don't have to do all of the ridiculous marketing exploits that new agents or other agents without that residual loyalty and goodwill locked in there, haven't you? So that's incredible, because as we know, there's such a high percentage of landlords have multiple properties, and the fact that they will be they may be managing themselves, they may be managed by other agents. That's the tip of the iceberg, that 1.4 million, really, isn't it? If you look at it like that.
In theory, yeah, and I've been a big fan of Josh, as I know you are, and that was the thing I picked up early on from him. You know, it's all in there. The potential's all in there. But the other thing is also nurturing those contacts as well, and we really sort of focused ourselves with Veco Plus on lead management and managing those leads through. And then with automation, you know, there's lots of great ways to keep in touch and keep nurturing those contacts for many years to come. We know that typically it's quite a short transaction process, isn't it? Even in lettings, you're only sort of working on a transaction for a relatively short space of time at any one time. So to keep nurturing those contacts is absolutely crucial. And Josh, as I said, Josh has been the biggest advocate of that down the years.
Yeah, he absolutely has. What did he say to me the other day? I was a little bit cheeky, as you know I like to be every now and again. I said, God, you're taking the mickey, aren't you? The last time was over. You're still over here banging that drum, aren't you, about, you know, prospecting? He says, and I'll never forget this, he said, yeah, I'll stop saying it when you lot start doing it. And that's true, isn't it? It's relevant. And here's where it gets really exciting, I think, Richard. One of the main reasons in that time when I left my previous employment, as they say, and I was cadging a job, as so many useless people do, as a consultant. The first thing I would do when I walk into a business, and the lowest hanging fruit, to use another vernacular, is if you've not got a combined package, then that's the very first thing you should do. Get rid of that artificial Chinese wall between the departments, and it's not rocket science, is it? You will see more. Recommendations, more referrals rather, between those departments. And again, being in that very small group of suppliers, CRM suppliers, that handle both sales, lettings, and accounts going forwards is massive, I think, and that needs saying. The second thing, and I admit this is getting a bit biased here now, is I'm a bit disappointed you haven't shouted about this already, if I'm honest, Richard, is that point of view about you need to shout about it. You don't need to really shout about it because your clients are shouted about it. And I did want to check before I came on board. You're the #1 reviewed CRM, aren't you, on our platform, the biggest and best B2B platform we've got in this industry at the moment. And I advise anyone to go and have a look at Kerfuffle.com, obviously put Veco in there and have a look at what those day-to-day users. And I think what's brilliant about that, Richard, actually, which I've noticed in there is a lot of the time I certainly as a supplier felt guilty, got this wrong, was we do focus almost overwhelmingly on the business owners. You know, we just try and obviously they're the ones who choose the product. They're the ones that sign off the checks. They're the one that ostensibly you have to keep happy. And of course they are absolutely crucial. But actually finding out from everyone else in the business what they're doing and how the product delivers for them at the coalface has got to be what our site and review sites, not what I just said, going forwards. And you've got a magnificent spread, haven't you, across all elements, from the business owners, the property managers, the accountants, you know, you've got everyone in there and they're all saying the right stuff.
Well, I think I'm right in saying we were the first CRM to sign up with Kerfuffle. I think I'm right in saying that.
I've always said you've had great judgment, Richard. That's
yeah, and my wife never says that. But yeah, it's just, I think what we saw straight away was, and again, we've all been there and done that. We go out, you do demos, and you ask for recommendations. And of course, you put you know, those pet clients, those clients who you have the best relationships with, you put them in touch. And I always thought that was a bit flaky. I'd see through that. We you know, estate agents, letting agents are all going to see through that. So that's what I liked about it. Say, look, don't let me put you onto my very close friends and clients and who are going to tell you that we're great. Go to this site and go and look at what people are saying. And I think we've got well over 120 now or something like that on Kerfuffle, and they are, as you say, users from all different areas of our client base. The reason we've been able to get that is because we give really, really good service. It does come back to that. You know, your product's got to be right to start with. We get that. We all get that. But I think it's just your service levels have got to be spot on. And I think, you know, getting back to Veco Plus and what we're trying to achieve with Veco Plus is we've started to look at users in a slightly different way, because we've always seen users as being those guys within a state agency, within a letting agency, using a software to help facilitate their jobs. But we see users now as an applicant, as a tenant, as a landlord, as a vendor, you know, because they're all going to be using the same platform. Essentially, they're all going to be jumping on to see their, you know, self-serve, to see their data. So something we've delivered with Veco Plus is pre-tenancy. Yeah. So as a pre-tenancy process, we all know that's been a tricky area to get right. You know, it's created its own stream of products in itself. But we've made sure that that is all fully built into Veco Plus. So the whole pre-tenancy, the applicants, that being able to self-serve right the way through, or not as they wish. So the difference with that being part of a wider CRM product is that you can jump in and out of a self-serve process. Yeah. But we've got to think of these guys as users because they are using the platform.
Yeah, and I was, you know, I think there's two things that jump out for me when I'm just having a look through them again now. Is first of all, it's the strength of feelings. Some people have almost written war and peace about it. It's always a good sign that they do, you know, because I used to get a bit pissed off, if I was honest, and obviously creating a business about my own vanity is the only way I could go forwards. But CRM does deserve far more attention than it's got. I mean, the fact that we now, actually, let's take this. You brought me up on this the other day because you know, I don't know whether I started the trend of calling ourselves CRM. I think I definitely think if it wasn't the first, I was one of the first, because I went over to Australia and saw all of the estate agency packages there were calling themselves CRM. I thought, that's much more exciting and much better. And you came back. You made the point to me the other day, though, that if we were really honest about it, have we really? You know, it's the old Thor meme thing. Is it really? It's not been delivering in the way that you know, what somebody would recognize as CRM in the wider world is about. And you feel like this next iteration is really going to deliver on that, don't you?
That's what we're trying to achieve. Absolutely, I don't think we've done that acronym any justice whatsoever. I'll be, blatant about that. I think because we've controlled lots of contact data, we've referred to ourselves as CRMs. And don't get me wrong, there's an element of truth to that. But I think in reality, until we get to a stage, which is what we've done with Veco Plus, where you're nurturing leads, turning leads into contacts via opportunities. Think about things like products like Salesforce. It's that true CRM attributes that I think have been missing from our type of product. And look, there's some great tech coming out at the moment. We like what Street are doing. We like what Loop are doing. We want to be Veco Plus. We want to be in that conversation, because I think that is the conversation that a modern estate or letting agent is going to want to be in. They're going to be wanting to say, well, hang on a minute. We need to manage our data a lot better. We need to nurture our leads. We need to make sure that we're covering every revenue stream we can. That's an opportunity. We want to win those opportunities. Some will win, some will lose. How do we report on that? So that kind of lead management through to that contact management and nurturing that contact throughout a life cycle, if you like, of relationship with agency, we think is where everything's going, and we've worked very hard to deliver that with Veco Plus.
Great. Well, it sounds really exciting. I think key thing for me is you're right there. There really is almost a two-tier and two-speed development going on in this CRM space at the moment. I also remembered, by the way, the other reason we called it CRM was somebody mentioned you get 4 times more when you multiply. Now, I know that's not where you're at, but I was certainly shamelessly after that. But actually that point about the two-speed thing now with some of those companies you mentioned before is that those are the guys that understand where it's at now, aren't they? What you need, combined features with the ability to communicate out with those. And then there's going to be the also-rans, aren't they, that kind of just stick in a particular mode simplistically, and again, don't have that ability to nurture. And I think, look, one of the things you've jumped on there, and I'd like to jump into a bit more detail, if that's okay with you, is I've always considered your USP, or certainly your secret sauce, that automation. I've mentioned in the past where I tried to shamelessly, whilst probably meeting you in the bar beforehand, then slipping and having a conversation with some of your clients. I'm a changed man now, as we all know. They shamelessly kick me shamelessly out of the room, because the one thing we realized that was nothing's impossible, but very, very difficult, was to mimic and to convert. If data conversions are hard enough when you're looking at static data, so you set up, and just talk us through the kind of thing that you do on this automation piece, because if technology is meant to do one thing, isn't it, Rich? It's meant to enable you to do more with less, and actually without that automation and workflows, that's very difficult to achieve. Can you just talk to us about your philosophy on that approach and what it's going to? You mentioned before, I think, automation plus as well. Could you just talk us through that?
Yeah. So, I mean, look, Automate as a product has been something that has been pretty unique to us, the way we do it. Now, lots of systems automate various tasks or processes. The way we approached it was to bespoke that automation. Yeah. And that's the difference. That is the difference, the secret sauce, as you've called it down the years. And don't get me wrong, it's hard work, it's a big investment up front, but it pays off, because it makes sure that our clients can give a very personal service, a very unique service, based on how they think agencies should operate. So really, it's been about a bespoke element, really, because we go back, go back to maybe 25 years. Automation to us was just, well, we need to automate these things because there's a lot of them to do. This was client accounting, property management, repetitive business processes. It was that, it was churning out all those, those letters, or that message, or that text message later on. And we just saw it as a necessary evil, really. And when our clients were demanding more of us, we went along with it. So as ever, we kind of guided by our clients, by our users. People who say, well, we really need to be able to do it this way. Because look, we all know agency operates in a fairly standardized model in the UK, and there's been, all the disruptors have failed to make any significant impact, in my opinion. So we all accept then that there is a standardized model to operate agency in the UK. The challenge is that everyone seems to want to do it slightly differently. So the way we've approached that is through automation historically. The way we've approached it in Veco Plus is workflow. So we've standardized a lot more of how you do things in Veco Plus, because sometimes flexibility can cause challenges and problems.
Yeah, of course.
So by standardizing the way things are done, but then giving clients the workflow opportunity to put their own processes in, their own business protocols in, and work to their prescribed way of delivering whatever that repetitive business process is, or that service level, because it could be one of a number of things. Something as simple as an anniversary message, just to say it's a year since you moved into your property. That is just, no one's going to be offended by that. That's not going to annoy anyone. And it's the sort of thing you probably becomes a bit of a talking point at home then. Do you realise we've been in the house a year or 2 years or 4 years? Just keeping just reminding people you're there, and you help them in what's always a really stressful time, really difficult time. And no matter how difficult it was, pain's a memory, right? You'll look back and you think, yeah, but we're here, we're happy, the kids are growing up, or whatever. Kids
have moved out. That's the happiest day, surely.
Yeah. But absolutely. But then the fact is, let's give you a valuation. Let's move you on. Yeah, is the underlying message. Yeah,
I think that's and you know what? There'll be loads of agents watching this thinking you just described it as fairly simple. I would estimate, and it's as usually it's one of those whaley stats. I reckon 3/4 of agents aren't doing that with their current system, if their current system does it already. Now, if you're missing such an open goal like that, and that is, as we said, really that's 101, isn't it, in terms of nurturing and everything else? How much more are you missing out on down the road? And I think the other thing you just said as well. Sorry, I always have that habit of grinning. That I do make myself very unpopular with our agency clients, because they don't do themselves any favors. They'll often start off with, which is where you were going, and say, look, well, I just want the same as everybody else. And then they proceed to ask for something that no one else in the history of property has ever asked for, haven't they, there? And that difficulty of standardizing and still having the flexibility out there as well is why it's such a difficult job with CRM.
Yeah, and that's why workflow and automation can deliver that complexity. The complexity that is the challenge is we want to do it this way, we want to do it that way. We don't just want to do anniversaries. We want to do this. We want to do that. That will allow any agency to make sure they can deliver their service in the way they want to do. And I think the best part of that is you end up delivering a consistent service.
Yeah,
and there's a lot to be said for consistency. There's a lot to be said for, we say we're going to do something and we do it. It might sound like the most straightforward thing in the world, but it's one of the things we try to do from a customer success point of view within Veco, and within our organisation. Let's just do what we say we're going to do, and that is that from that bedrock, I think you can do some really good things.
Because you can't, it's too important, right, to relax and hope that it's always going to be that the member of the public, the important potential client, gets your best member of staff on their best day, isn't it? It needs to be systemized. It needs to be integrated. You still need to train up the best people in the business, but it gives you that artificial platform, doesn't it, to make sure that you aren't missing anything, and you are, as you've highlighted there, giving that consistency. Consistency is about everything, especially when you've got a corporate brand. Maybe it doesn't matter so much if you're one of these individual associate broker models or something like that, because you're all about that person and everything else. But whilst the vast majority of the industry still revolves around that brand, that corporate brand and reputation, it's vital.
I'd slightly disagree with you. I don't think it matters what service you're trying to deliver if you can have more time to do the good stuff, the relationship building, the nurturing, the personal bit. I've always banged that drum. We are simply here to facilitate a people business. It is a people business. It's been proved. It always will be, certainly in my career. because of the failed disruption. And I think that's what we've sort of stuck to, just making sure that no matter what your mantra is in terms of service, make sure you're not wasting time on repetitive business processes.
Excellent. Look, there's a final part to what I deem this holy trinity of this release. You mentioned there really delivering on that CRM point of view, the workflows again, obviously, that are coming with this as well. Just talk us through. You highlighted to me, and at first I didn't really get the importance of it, but as you explained, it became really, really obvious. The self-service aspect. Could you just talk us through a little bit of that?
Yeah, look, self-service is prominent in 98% of sectors. In our sector, I always felt, again, the key players, we dropped the ball a little bit here. We didn't get onto it early enough, and as it says, it's created its own sort of micro sector in itself. But we always saw, there's times where you can say, hang on a minute, that's really specialist. Let's leave it to those guys because they're going to do a really, really good job. But I think with self-service, we've jumped on it. We see, pre-tenancy is just one of a number of self-service items that we're going to be developing. But it's just that kind of convenience aspect, and the convenience that we see is being able to do certain things in a self-serve environment, but then still being able to just walk into a branch or call a branch and say, can you just explain this? Or giving them some information, or sending them some information, or someone's not comfortable with a digital signature. You shouldn't fall out of the process. You just do something slightly differently. And then the internal user, or the staff users we're now referring to them as, will complete a process on behalf of the external user. And it's simple as that. And when you're building your workflows, you're building them in a way that they can be done externally by external users. So you've got total control over it, which is something that's very difficult unless you've got a deep integration with a self-service platform. It's going to be always really difficult to maintain that, again, that consistency and not miss anything. But also, reality is people will do things in a slightly different way than you ever expected them to. So self-serve is massive for us with Veco Plus, and it's just something that we see just as pure convenience, and also saving agency users a lot of time. Let's save them that data entry and that referencing data, all that sort of stuff. Let's own it, but let's not have to put it all in ourselves.
I think it's one of the challenges has been that self-service has always been kind of at first almost a bit sneered at because people think it's the company absolving themselves the responsibility. What they don't understand is that actually the vast majority of people want to have it's about convenience, it's about speed of access, isn't it? Being able to make those changes. And therein lies the rub, because actually as long as you put your time and energy and effort into creating the right platform that allows you to do the self-service, that's how it's not for everybody, but there's certainly a majority of people want to be able to have that.
Well, if it's made optional, and you can actually decide what you want as an agency to make self-serve, then you can build that into your workflow. So again, we thought that was the missing piece of the jigsaw. I mean, look, time will tell if we're right or wrong. But if it's an option, if it's optional, we're not forcing it down anyone's throat here. We just say, look, there's self-serve elements to this new product, Veco Plus. You can allow people to do certain tasks or processes in an external environment, but obviously we needed a technology platform to be able to deliver that. But I tell you what I have learned from this, and I hate to use the word journey, it's a bit naff, but what I have learned from this process over the last couple of years. I know now why people aren't building end-to-end. I know why they're doing certain sectors and specializing, because it's tough. It's a really tough ask. And as you said, CRM, you said at the start of this webinar, it's the most difficult thing to deliver.
Yeah.
Delivering it these days is even harder. I think it's even harder.
It could look. We go back in the day. You do a basic matching system. You have the ability to change a few letters. You upload to Rightmove, and you could walk out of there with a check. And that was probably the only reason I was able to make it in this industry, because I could get my head around that. Nowadays, you know, how can you be anything almost other than a specialist in generalism? Because you've got every single gamut of bit to go on. So if you're going to come to the table with some already established providers already out there, and never mind that, you've got an entire client base who says, well, hang on a minute, our barometer of success is here. So you've got to get here straight away. That's a tough ask, isn't it? But the good news from your point of view is, again, this is what I mean by that two-tier approach, isn't it? There will definitely be, I think, you know, the rest who will do it well, do it cheaply, whatever else, and then there will be the people who are really delivering on that promise of it as a platform. Because again, come back to it, if you sort out and get your CRM right, the rest of your tech stack is 10 times easier, isn't it? If you choose the wrong CRM, if you don't have it set up in the right way, everything you build in terms of that tech stack is built on quicksand, isn't it? And it's a bit of sticking plaster here, it's a bit of sticking plaster there. So, you know, it's not hard to see why so many of the technical consultants out there do spend so long on these big projects, making sure that they get that right for their agency clients.
Absolutely, but I think for us it's about being the single source of truth. You know, we've spoken about that for a lot of years as well, that you do have to have that. So the core disciplines need to be in one place, in our opinion, and then obviously with our approach in Veco Plus to sort of integrations is something called extensions.
Yeah,
and we you know, I think the phrase is perfect. You know, you want to extend your prop tech base to certain key areas that are really going to deliver something unique and something that's going to add value, serious value to your proposition, whether it's top line or bottom line. Okay,
talk to me. We've spoken about some of these really important niche areas as well. In terms of what you guys have always done fantastically, which is the property management and the accounts. What's been the approach there? How have you taken this opportunity to take that forwards?
Okay, so yeah, we haven't spoken about those really important areas. I suppose because our focus has been on what we didn't do as well with Veco, to make sure we do it really well with Veco Plus. But really, sort of property management, actually not a great deal of change. We've still got the fixed flow integration. Again, that's a great example of an area that can be done really, really well externally. So we've still got that. But I think from a property management perspective, it's more about the extensions plus making sure you've still got that cradle to grave, you know, repair reporting through works orders, through good supplier management, and then obviously good financial management. In terms of accounts, our approach to accounts has been, let's make the user experience much, much better. And what you're able to do with kind of this front end, back end development process these days is you can hide a lot of complexity under the surface. Yep. And really, it's been a case of saying, well, look, you know, let's make sure that obviously all our qualified and qualified by experience client accounts users, they understand the terminology, but you know, we don't need to expose so much of the actual process. So you know, there's been areas of client accounting that we've delivered really well down the years, like owner groups, for example. So this was something in Eurolink. We found that our users were spending a lot of time on those properties where they had joint ownership.
Yeah.
So we built something called owner groups into Veco, which everyone thought was great, but then throw an owner group at an egg and they say, well, I'm not interested in that. Yeah. That's all back end stuff. So that's a good example of an area where we've evolved, and now we've had to make sure that evolution is delivered in a much, much better way for every part of the business.
I think, look, what you showed me the other day, you were kind enough to let me have a look into the labs bit, and of course, you'll kill me if I say anything too much, but the interface is wonderful. I mean, it really is. I think for me, that difficulty that so many systems, face of, you need to often portray and show a lot of information on the screen, and doing that simplistically or feels like logically is always a perennial challenge. You've really nailed that, I think, with what you were showing me the other day there. The integration piece, I'm very interested. Obviously, there's a lot of talk out there. Obviously, Foundations has its kind of app store there. Your MRIs have theirs. So that you feel like this now, the way you're creating this is going to give your clients again another a great step up in terms of that ability to use the best tech that's out there, the best suppliers.
Yeah, we think so. I mean, it's been interesting to watch how this has all evolved over the last however many years, and we've been lucky that our cycle, and again, sometimes you get a bit of luck, right? Your product cycle comes round at a time where people have gone through the pain point of something, and we think we believe like extensions delivers more of a supplier agnostic opportunity for agents. So for us, it's we could have spent every penny of our development budget every year on integrations.
Yeah.
Cool. And but obviously, if that's all you ever did, where do you end up with your core product? So what we've done is we've said, no, let's own all the data and let's make sure that data is available to users. So for instance, referencing, instead of sending you off to a referencing platform and putting your data in there, well, the data is going to go in self-serve in Veco Plus. The referencing data is going to go in there anyway. So we manage that data. We own that data, and then I think that gives the agent a little bit more power, let's say, to say, well, it's our data. We can now be supplier agnostic. We can flip to another referencing provider for a better service or a better deal. We might want to run multiple companies at any one time because of volume or whatever it might be. So extensions it's a different take on how to manage your third-party providers.
Excellent. Look, I feel like we've really got a lot out of that in terms of understanding why you've done it, what you're delivering, why anyone's there. I think just give us an idea. Obviously, the obvious one, I always forget this because I tend to buy anything. Talk to us though. From when we were talking again, you've gone down quite an innovative approach on the costing side of things, haven't you? Do you want to just give us an overview of how that's changed around, and was that methodology, kind of got to over time, as it were? Because just talk to us, because you've moved away from user pricing, is that right?
We moved away a while back. Yeah, we moved away quite a long time back, actually, and we actually moved to more of a subscription-based model ahead of getting to a subscription type product. And the reason for that was we wanted to differentiate. Obviously, that's one thing, but we've been working on active property pricing now for a long time, a number of years, and the reason we like it is it feels relatable. Yep. An agent will relate to a pricing model, we believe, and we're told by our clients that, well, that's how we operate. We get paid, a fee, and we were trying to link it into that somehow. Obviously, look, with web-based products, with cloud-based products, we're hosting the infrastructure, the data itself, images, videos, you name it. So you have to cover that off, but we will be continuing with that active property model. How many times have you had the argument down the years about user pricing? Well, for me, why would I buy into a company who has a user model? Yeah. Because actually, in my mind, the more users, the more revenue they get. That doesn't make sense to me. It never has done. And also, you've got Saturday workers, you've got part-time, you've got all that debate that you just don't need. You just don't need. Look, it's active properties. That's what you guys could make a fee on. That's what we'll charge against. And in theory, then, we're all kind of invested in the same success.
No, I think it's the fairest way of doing it, without a shadow. It's something that pisses agents off. I know the amount of deals that fall through because, as you said, some business might have a large part-time, weekenders and things like that. And it's just, and the amount of toing and froing going over it, ultimately basing it on the amount of properties you've got is the easiest and fairest metric, isn't it? I think that you can have. So I think that's really, really innovative. Okay, cool. what we're going to do is we're going to find out anyone that's going to be interested now. Where are you in terms of this the release schedule? Can people start seeing it yet? Are they waiting to when are they going to be able to find out more?
So the launch, if you like, is now. We're delivering from Q1 next year, 2024, for lettings end to end. Q3 for sales. So the one system. We are looking to set up obviously demo meetings and getting together with existing clients who are looking to evaluate their requirements, their needs. Any prospective clients, we love to talk to people who are starting to think about what change looks like in their organization, how they're going to scale up, how they're going to grow their agency over the next 5 to 10 years. So really, it's get to the new website, which is veco.software. Jump on there, have a look. Make sure it's you'll see you'll get a glimpse of that user experience that you just talked about, that you said you liked. Hopefully, people will like that as well. Out there, and jump on the next steps. Very, very quick process, and we'll get in touch and start that consultation process.
That sounds great, Richard. Thank you. I mean, anybody out there, do have a look at it. Let me know. Come back to me. I'm always desperate for feedback. Obviously, CRM is my particular baby anyway. I'd love to know what your thoughts and feedback are. We're going to be hearing it from your users. I wanted to just before I do my closing. I actually thought I'd use my own site for what it was meant for as well. So I did a search on, you can search on the reviews for anyone who is sometimes that's quite useful. And I had a look through just where support was mentioned on those 100+ reviews you've got there. And look, these are all just fantastic names in the industry. Excellent support services, friendly and helpful staff, excellent product and advice, support is superb. The team are all fantastic, and I cannot fault their attitude towards helping their clients. Excellent service. I mean, it just goes on and on and on and on and on there. This is, it's not a one-off. They're not outliers. That is a trend. If 20% of those are, going out of their way to just talk specifically about support, I'd suggest that's what people need in this most important of, as I said, tech partners you're going to have in your business. So that's really important. I think the second thing, for my takeaway, look, it's brilliant because it's a new product, so there's all the excitement around that, doing exciting, really great new stuff, but obviously built on the background of what you guys are already doing. And so Veco Plus gets that tick there. That 30 years of experience, that's in tech term, it's a bit like dog years, isn't it? That's like centuries, really. You're coming to the same place as me. We were in this before it was even called prop tech, and that's how mad that is. Obviously, you want to get people to kind of register. We want to get people to register and find out what comes on with it. But I think, again, it shows that client approach you've got, because you haven't been brutal about it. You are obviously working with those existing clients as well, aren't you? And so that shows a real thought there to make sure that there's no, there's the maximum of business continuity, I suppose. So look, from my point of view, any closing comments you'd like to just make there, Rich? Or
no, but I think that's probably the most important thing. We in an ideal world, it is a win-win situation. There's an element of selfishness about it. We're into this. Veco Plus represents the 5th iteration in our life cycle as a business. Some of those users, not necessarily clients, but some of those users have been with us the entire time. The whole 33 years. And I think in an ideal world, we will always be ready when our clients are ready to move. And if we've got the right type of solution for them, then in theory, we should never lose a client. And there should always be a smooth migration process, and everyone benefits from that. So, I think the service levels, we'll keep monitoring, we'll keep working hard on. But look, we're just really excited to get this product out there. We're using it plus, it's plus, it's supercharged, it's streamlined, it's everything really that we've been about, that we haven't been shouting about. Well, we're going to start shouting about it more.
Excellent. Well, we look forward to that. Can't wait to hear the feedback. We'll get some more product overviews as well. I think from from what we've seen today, this is definitely one to watch. Richard, thank you very much for today. Thank you for unveiling it, as it were, with ourselves. We love to obviously be the huggy bear and get exposed to the new tech, and this is definitely one of those ones. Everyone needs to get it on their watch list for 2024 and start talking to you guys now about booking that in. For today, thank you very much.
Thank you, Simon.
Cheers.